I'm glad you're here. Actually, we're going to try something. I have this poem called In This Land. And so, I'm going to try to do it with flute. We've never done this before. I mean, he read the lyrics once. So, it's gold. But I think it's appropriate because it's about seed. And seed, you know, life is about seed. And in the course of this evening, I will be as coherent as I can, and I'll try to make as much sense as I can, all right? But I want to tell you straight up right here and now, I'm crazy, okay? But it's okay. Not dangerous, just crazy. And I think it is what has protected me in life. And just let you know that. Because whatever I end up saying tonight, because I'm not sure where I'm going, but whatever I end up saying tonight, if I say something you don't agree with, all right? I'm not trying to start anything. It's crazy, right? And it's cool, right? All right. Okay, anyway, this is called In This Land. Wild seed. Life. Seeding life. And the earth is our mother. And the land is her flesh. And the water is her milk. And the oil is her blood. And we are her children. In this land we come from, of this earth we're made of, with us as future ancestors, given responsibilities to live. We are the future we bring. If we don't take care of the land, how can the land take care of us? Same with sky and air we breathe. It's time to remember tomorrow, today, and the reality of we reap what we sow. Reality of life and land is in the seed. Seed is memory. Memory of life. Wild seed memory. Keeping alive. Up close, face to face with the destroyers and their synthetic seed without memory. Toxic planting poisons in earth and minds. Discarding well-being into maximizing profit. Abandoning the children to massive debt. Making the price of freedom unaffordable at the expense of the many to benefit the few. Like a spreading mad human disease. Chaos in minds with liars' promises. Seeding old fear with new fear. Life in the world of the money man. We need to think our way out of what we believed our way into. How can we show respect to life if we don't use our common sense? Wild seed, life, seeding life, and the earth is our mother, and the land is her flesh, and the water is her milk, and the oil is her blood, and we are her children. appreciate being able to be part of this, because I've never really participated in any of the veteran things or anything. I'm a veteran, but I've never really participated in anything. And so tonight, I want to speak to you like a human being. I don't want to talk as a veteran. I don't want to talk as a tribe. I want to talk as a human being. Because that's how I want to think. That's how I want to feel. And that's how I want to experience the rest of the life that I have as a human being. Because I think that when I look at life, I can speak for me, but I think it's not just me. But most of our lives were erased. And we didn't know how to be human beings. And I think that's, maybe if there's a real tragedy and everything that's going on, that might be the larger tragedy about being a human being. Because that's who we are. And as a veteran, it's kind of like a paradox to me. I went to Vietnam. I enlisted in the military. But I didn't do it for any patriotic reasons. I didn't stay out of jail. That's why I went. Because I knew where I came from. That's where we ended up, in prison. I knew that. I didn't understand it, but I knew the guys that were bootlegging for us and doing all that stuff. They were in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s, and they had all been in and out of jail. And that's me. That's our future. That's who we are. Because that's where everything stood at that time. There wasn't no programs. There was no nothing. So I went in the military because it was my way out. And before I went into the military, I thought about it. I thought, well, if I go into the military, because there was no war, nobody heard of Vietnam then. If I go in the military, I don't want to get shot, basically. So I thought, well, if I go in the Army or the Marines, they're going to put a gun in my hand and I'll be a target in case there's a war. So I picked the Navy. And I'm not, this is my reason. So I am a Vietnam War, and I was on a destroyer. We did search and rescue for downed pilots. And the shooting war I was in was from the big guns from the ships to the land and stuff. I wasn't in the ground. But as far as I was concerned, and I wasn't, and I'd say basically overall, I was kind of patriotic, America, this and that. I didn't think. Trying to my immediate survival. So I went over there, but see, however you look at it, whatever different degrees of things are, see, I served, I fought for this country. Right? So, then I came back from this. I came back from fighting for this country. And I tried to stand up for my own people. See, so I got to serve with two sets of veterans. There's a couple here, Curtis and Dino, from the political activist movement. The veterans that stood up to the government so that we could have the limited sovereignty through the sovereignties that we have in the casinos. We had the education program. All the stuff that kind of, whatever we're getting now, see, we had to fight a war to get that. That's reality. We have the body count. Proof. We got the POWs. See, but we were just a bunch of, we were the cast-offs, and we were misfits. We didn't fit in. Because of our attitude, really, And we knew we had no future. We knew that. So that was how we fought our wars. We saw the troops, we saw military action, paramilitary action, we saw all the stuff. And I just want to say that because I think that if we're going to look at veterans, there are the veterans that serve our country and our people, and there are the veterans that serve our people that maybe didn't serve the country the other way. Because they never, for whatever reason, life didn't put that opportunity out there, because of poverty and the despair that's been on the reservations, that just took a lot of opportunities away from people. So they had to experience a different kind of life. See, somehow, when we gather as veterans, and we're going to talk about what we did as veterans, see, I think it's important to acknowledge them too, because they're a part of what we're all about. They're part of our people, part of the human being. And I've earned a flag. I've earned a flag in Washington, D.C. So I stay away from a lot of things because, it's due. I don't want you to understand. See, I'm a veteran now. I earned that right. In the military, they said that the flag is desecrated. The only proper way to dispose of it is to burn it. They call touching the earth desecration. I don't. I call 463 broken laws that are called treaties, I call that desecration.
Yeah.
I call the alcoholism and the poverty and the injustice that goes on in our communities, I call that desecration. I call racism desecration. I call sexism desecration. I call the abandonment of the old. I call the looting of the citizens. I call all those things desecration. But see, after I burned a flag, somebody killed my family, so I don't burn any more flags. But yet at the same time, see, so it's kind of, I exist in these paradox realities. Because I respect you, and I respect your views. But at the same time, see, it's how I don't know how to explain it, But I want you to understand, see, that in a way, the way all of this stuff unfolded and went down brought us to this point. And in a way, so some of you view reality differently than how I view reality. But I do think that we have more in common on how we view reality than we have in our difference. See, I think our native experience gives us more in common. And now, so I want to say that because I think that, it's like, this is the place to say it. I've never really said it, and I'm not trying to start anything, but I really think that some things need to be discussed within our realities. See, I wanted to talk to you as a human being and not as a warrior because the human being memories are what I'll call the human being memories, they kind of just keep showing up in these different ways that I don't really understand. But I guess maybe they want recognition. See, and to me it's like making a distinction. I'm a human being. I'm not a warrior. I'm a human being. First and foremost, I'm a human being. I do warrior things when it's necessary, but my total, I'm a human being. See, this is what our ancestors, when we were all the human beings, and we understood we were the human beings, and we were the people, see, this was never an issue, there was never a misunderstanding. I'm a human being. And I'm a warrior when I have to be. But when somebody came up and said, who are you? We would say, I'm whatever our name was, which meant the people, the human beings. This is how we identify. And the reason, because as perspectives get tilted out of kilter, by the way the genocide has worked, the way that perspectives get tilted out of kilter. See, I think warrior is a sacred word. I think it's a sacred place to go. It's a sacred thing to do. But see, sacred things must be used sacredly and carefully, is what I think. So, to me, see, as a human being, that's the most sacred thing, because that makes all the other stuff that we do possible. Now, the special sacredness of the word warrior, see, the root of the word is war. It's war. See, that's the core. See, so that means I'm identified. It's just something in psychology. Am I making sense? All right. See, so I think we need, in order to preserve our identity as human beings, because I think that's the most important identity to preserve. Not the Indian identity, man. Not the Native American identity. I mean, we got to deal with that stuff because it's there. But the identity of the human being, the original memory, who we are, who we were, who our ancestors said we were, not who the genocidal oppressors came here and said who we were. They came and said, it was a genocide, they came and said, you're Indians. And when we rebelled at being treated the way we were being treated as Indians, then they said, you're Native Americans. This is reality. The only history the Indians have is one of genocide. Our history begins with genocide. Our history, as the human beings, goes back to the beginning of memory. But we're getting it imprinted into our consciousness that as Indians and now Native Americans, see, our history begins there. But we really place things into a context in our history and the evolution of human beings, as human beings, in our history, as human beings. We truly did. See, the collective example that goes on here of community, that was the way of life. As the human beings, that's how we live. But see, this genocidal thing came and said, you're Indians. And as it started committing genocide against us, all right, and tilting our balance, Indians can't get along. Indians are lazy. Indians are this. Indians are that. Everything they ever said about an Indian, all right, as they committed genocide, the trauma of genocide, and imprinted it into our consciousness so we could pass it on generally, was a negative. See, so to me, it's like, and then the Native American just tacked on later. See, but they refused to recognize us as human beings, and they refused for so long, we're starting to forget. See, like I told you, I'm crazy, but this is stuff I see. See, I'm going to put it out there because, why not? You know? There's something about our memory and us recognizing who we are. You know, our intelligence. The power of our intelligence. Everything that ever happened to us. Everything that ever happened to us was to infect our intelligence, to manipulate our ability to see, to control us by how we perceive reality is controlled. Our intelligence. To understand the power of our intelligence. We are human beings. See? Sometimes we'll say, I'm only human, but that's just not true. We are human beings. The visible. Bone, flesh, and blood. Our DNA. We're made up of the metals, minerals, and liquids of the earth, or shapes of the earth. Being. The visible, the invisible, visible. The being. We have being. We know we do. Being. That's the spirit, the energy, but that's the human's dependent on the being for the human to be able to exist in a conscious state, knowing that the human exists. Being, our energy. We are human beings. So literally, the being part of human is our power source. It is our power source. What is called death, that's when the being is left. So that our power is in our being. As human beings, our power is in our being. It's not in man-created and manufactured controlling mechanisms and structures. Our power is in our being. See, and in our ancestral memory, see, as human beings, we do that. The power is in our being. Now, we're made up of the metals, minerals, and liquids of the earth. So who shapes the earth? Human being. So our human comes from the earth. Our being comes from the sun, sky, universe. Our being comes from there. Human being. We are part earth and sky. Human being. Now, this is who we are in our relationship with reality and power. Now, all things of the earth are made up of the same metals, minerals, and liquids. All things of the earth made of the same thing we are. A different shape. All things of the earth have the same relationship to sun, sky, universe. So all things have being. So where we come from, all my relations, but all things have being. Now, we live in a technological, perceptual, industrial reality where we know they can take the DNA, the bone, flesh, and blood of the earth, that's uranium, or oil, they can take it out of the earth, put it into a mining refinement process, and convert its being to a mining refinement process. Convert its being into a form of energy, power, to run electrical systems. And that mining process leaves behind poison and toxic to the life environment. And remember, we're made up of the same thing. See, and all these other mining processes that go on, in order for there to be a need for that, they have to mine the being part of human. Convert the being part of human into a form of energy to run this larger thing that is going on. So the being part of human is mined through the human, how the human being is imprinted to perceive reality. Now, this leaves behind poison and toxic. And the poison and toxic that it leaves behind in the human consciousness is that there's something wrong with me. I'm bad. there's something wrong with me. It leads that back into human consciousness. That's the poison and the toxin. And then as human beings, now we're being like, now we're viewing ourselves, all right, as there's something wrong with us, and we're participating in life from our perception of our inabilities, that there's something wrong with us. The power of our intelligence. All of that the power of our intelligence. How bad can you make yourself feel? I mean, just being real with ourselves. This is about nobody else. It's about us in our own reality. How bad can we make ourselves feel with our fears and our doubts and our insecurities? Especially when we're feeling powerless. And then how does that affect the people we interact with and we relate to? That's our power. So if we can make ourselves feel bad, and we can affect the people we interact with, and we make them feel bad because we feel bad, that's our power. But we don't understand it because we've been imprinted to believe there's something wrong with us. So understand the power of our intelligence and the power of thinking. Wellness. See, we're in a system, this is my opinion, we're in a system that really is about the money. And it always has been about the money. And in the overall thing, they don't really care about us. But the mechanisms are there to figure out a way to survive. But this isn't about caring, right? I'm talking on the larger scheme. I'm not talking about the community. I'm talking on a larger scheme. So what we got to deal with is, but for wellness, we need to understand the power of our intelligence. For wellness, we need to really respect our intelligence. Because we talk a lot of respect. We say the words, and we talk a lot, but if we go around thinking bad about ourselves, if we go around judging ourselves and condemning ourselves, then we're not respecting our intelligence. We're not respecting the Creator and all the other good words and all the other good stuff. That's just what it is, good words and good stuff. But we got to respect our intelligence. We got to respect ourselves. Because, if there's a problem, the energy you put into creating a solution to that problem, well, whatever's in that energy. So if a lack of self-respect and low self-esteem and thinking I'm terrible, there's something wrong with me, if that energy's in the solution we take to a problem, then that energy is going to be in the solution. And we have no reason not to respect ourselves. We have no reason not to like ourselves. Because remember that. Just think about this. Wellness. Think about this. Whatever negative self-image that one has of themselves and how that affects their daily reality. Think about it. Did you think it up, or did somebody put it there until you believed it? This is important. Really important. Did you think up the bad negatives about yourself, or did somebody say it and put it there repeatedly until you believed it? Now, everything in this dimensional reality, is about energy. Everything is about energy. When we think, we project what they call electromagnetic energy. Thought projects that. So everything's about energy. And so how we use our energy. When we think. Thinking is energy doing what energy is supposed to do. Flowing, going in motion. Flowing, going in motion. So we're projecting energy, which is meant to flow, movement. So thinking is very important. Another word to start thinking about is the word believe. See, because I think believe is a dangerous word. It's a sacred word, but it's so sacred, right, that it's dangerous if it's not used correctly or with some understanding of why it's being used. To believe means, in reality, we don't know. All right? It means we don't know. I believe this really in reality. Basic reality means I don't know. But the way the imprinting and the civilizing and the traumatization of the human beings everything, all the bad, what I'm going to call the genocide of civilization itself. It happened. Part of the reason for having it, so for those who survived the genocide, to believe reality the way the civilizing process wanted them to believe reality. See, but we came out of dimensional realities as human beings where it wasn't about believing, it was about thinking. We were alert, we thought, and we knew and we understood what we knew and understood. So belief was a very sacred thing, and beliefs were much more sacredly interpreted and understood than they are now. But anyway, believe. Here's the part about belief. Energy flowing, thinking. Believe. See, stops the energy from flowing. Because you see, when people believe something, all their beliefs are biased by their prejudice and their doubts. See, so they're not thinking about it anymore, so there's no more to learn. There's no more to see. It's already put there. So I'm not going, so rather than think about it, then we'll just believe it, we just put it there, see? And then our lives don't really change for the better for us, and we wonder what's going on. See? But these beliefs get put in these containers, and we got all these negative self-doubts, self-fears about ourselves. So these beliefs, but its energy has got to go somewhere. So it builds up inside of our consciousness, inside of our emotions, and then these emotional outbursts, which continue to further complicate our lives. So to understand the power of our intelligence, and to use it with as much clarity and coherency as we possibly can. See, because I consider all of us in this larger context, there are the military veterans, but we're all veterans because we survived. All right? We survived in a society where survival is, survival is what it is for most of the people. See, so to understand the power of our intelligence and to respect. So whatever I'm saying, I just want people to think about this. If it makes sense to you, to think about it. But in my way of looking at some of this stuff, when I look at it and say, how do I show respect to the Creator? And if I don't, how do I do it? Because I've been through this. My head's so big. How do I show respect to the Creator? If I don't respect myself. If I don't create false pride, if I don't just respect myself for who I am and accept who I am, all the parts accept it. But there's really nothing wrong with us. We may have done wrong behavior, because everything that we have in us that makes us react in a negative way is based on these negative beliefs that have been put into our consciousness about ourselves. And so one of the things, so I think we need to look, whatever it is that chases us in our heads that we really don't talk about, whatever it is that chases us, maybe we're the only ones that know about it. Look at it and see where it can recognize. Look at your life. Look at your life and recognize the circumstances of your life. Don't look at your life and judge it. See, I think it's more important. I think it's important to believe more. To think more and believe less. And I think it's equally important to recognize more and judge less. Because judging, again, is like judgment has its limitations. If you judge a thing, you're biased, you're prejudiced, you're looking for it to be wrong. But if you recognize a thing, you see it for what it really is and what really happens and how it happened, you recognize it, you see it for how it exists, and then you have a better understanding of your life and who you are and how what happened to you happened to you. Wellness, our intelligence. If we look to our intelligence and respect it, and you don't make emotional decisions, think as clearly and coherently as we can. Show respect to our Creator that way, and see what that will bring. Because, when we're emotionally depressed or down and all this and that, and it excludes that, and we know that it generates that energy and how it affects, well then if we make our decisions with some clarity and some coherence and respect and think things out, well then maybe it'll affect people that way. Because electromagnetic energy, when we think, we project electromagnetic energy. So we're going to attract what we project. And if we attract clarity, coherency, and respect, we will start to attract that energy back. But if we just continue to project our confusion then that's the energy that we project back. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about wellness. And I didn't intend to get fanatical on you. Somebody has to. No, not really. But read a poem. Because sometimes I look at it, there is nothing wrong with this. We just got to respect our own goodness, We really do. Because, the thing sometimes when we say things that we put in our mind that is wrong with us, generally, we're traumatized. Something traumatizes us young. Something comes and puts trauma on us when we're young. And because we're young, we don't understand the madness of the world. We think there's something wrong with us. It kind of begins there, right? And then we think there's something wrong with us. And then the trauma generally, the first trauma is generally a sign of more traumas coming, and however they come. And then pretty soon, we're trapped in this thing. We view ourselves completely from the trauma, that there's something wrong with us. And then this causes reactions from us. So that now our reactions are, we go do things as a result of that trauma, right? That now makes us feel even worse about ourselves. And it's kind of how it works. Because everything's about energy, and we're talking about energy in our behavior patterns and this kind of stuff. So it's kind of how all this stuff really works. So if we take the time to recognize how the trauma is caused, and to recognize and understand that whatever we did, whatever reactions we had that we continue to judge, were originally a ripple from the original trauma. Maybe it'll help us to understand what happened, so we can see ourselves more clearly. Because of whatever we did to defend our country, our people, or the next generation, my own personal opinion is, if we don't start putting out there, respect your intelligence and use it as clearly as you possibly can. All right, if we don't pass that to them, I think that I think that's the best defense that we can pass to them. I think because that's the spirit, that's of the human being. Because the material stuff that goes on, see, there's going to be a fight and a struggle for, who knows how that goes. But so that they can protect their spirit, protect their identity. Because I think part of the thing is, as veterans, it's a term we use that implies we're done, but I don't think we ever are. I don't think we ever are. Maybe society might tell us sometimes, but I think in our own personal ways of living our lives, we're never done. Tell me, read a couple more things, and then, am I getting too nuts? No?
You always ask that.
Well, I want to read a poem to you and see. This is called Moments Are Shapes. And then life is a decision we make. And moments are the shapes those decisions take. And evolution is a way of wandering through time. Somewhere between birth, someplace before death, something from the past today brings for tomorrow. Wander dizzy or wander alert, and wonder about what could be some leftovers from the next last go-round. And when the merry-go-round isn't feeling that merry, time to remind the tears a smile is just a smile away. Laughter brings us memories waiting for us to happen, in realities of catching up to where we've already been. Through the good and the bad and the way flux fluxes, and nothing's been done that hasn't been done before. So the redoing is about redoing the same but different. And the ride is a hell of a ride if that's the ticket we buy. Insane ideas of pain is more acceptable than pleasure. And ideas of guilt by birth are what makes it acceptable. Turning light that's supposed to be light into a burden. Walls and dead ends and windows behind locked minds. While in a conspiracy of reality, the moon and the stars join with the sun in a sending of more light for replenish. Every day brings more chances to ride the ride different. Every breath we take can be fresh breath in many ways. And in the choices between depressings and blessings, what we decide is what we create in our show to star in. You know, as growing up, where I came from, it was like, I know it has to be the same. I came with, raw wood and, chop holes in the ice in winter to get your drinking water and all your stuff, right? And came out of that world. And maybe it was the best world I was ever in. I mean, actually, I think about it sometimes. When I was young, and I grew up in Nebraska, and from the time I was about 9, I was ready to go. I got here. I enjoyed. Anyway, I wanted to get out. But in my tribe, my stuff, there were the good days. I mean, those days were good. But anyway, there's something about Nebraska. You were born there. You understand it, right? And so that's how I went into the world, because into the military. Because I was so desperate to get out of Nebraska and in this jail, so all this stuff started happening. I went into the military because I wanted to see the world. And during that time in my life, I had part of half my time in the res and half the time off the res. And I could function in both worlds, right? I understood, sort of, a teenager, I understood how to get on in those worlds. And during all that time, so when I was going to school, the deal was, get a high school diploma, get a good job. And education did for us was get a high school diploma and get a good job, right? I tried it. I tried getting a high school diploma. It just didn't work out, But part of it was, I didn't understand. I understand it better now than I did then. But the deal is, I was in high school. I just didn't pay attention. I kept getting in trouble. But nothing serious, just being a nuisance in school. So they called me into the principal's office and they said to me, that I had a lot of potential. And if I studied real hard, I could make something of myself. See, and for reasons I didn't understand them, but I just thought, I don't belong here. Because I already am something. Maybe to study hard and get a good job, but I took that different. Well, when you study hard and make something of yourself, I took that person. I'm right here, I am something. So I walked out. All right, we're not communicating here. I'm invisible. Right? Say the rest of it. Invisible. See, that's what I mean. We're still invisible as human beings. Then we got to make ourselves visible because they don't want to see us. We can't pretend it because they don't want to see us, so we can't see ourselves. So anyway, I did that, and so the military, because I'm in America, I'm being the way, television was new, and David Crockett and all this stuff, right? And, the good guys and all that stuff, that they were pushing to us. So I thought, well, I'll go into the military, get an education there. I got one. It wasn't the one I wanted, but I did get an education there, right? Not to do that again, right? With my education, right? I went in the military, and it was kind of a hard adjustment for me because I wasn't used to just being verbally attacked. From the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, right? I wasn't used to that. Psychological, right? But I knew that's what went on with the military. All right. But then I had a hard time grasping the concept of having to relate to an officer who was an officer because of circumstance and privilege, right? And, but yet I had to respect that circumstance and privilege in a way that didn't make sense to me. I understand it's all for military function and discipline, and you get people to go out and fight and die and do all that stuff, these things. But it didn't really make sense to me. But all right, but I did it. But then, I got lonesome, and my girlfriend went AWOL. That did it. Took care of that. So, but I went home and I saw a hole that I left here. So, so I stayed home 10 days and I called them up and said, all right, come back and I'll do my deal, man. I'll take the gig. All right, do whatever I got. So I went back. I got back, and it was just not a good time to get back, I think, because they decided to make an example out of me. Oh, man. So I got a special court-martial. I ain't military, I got a special court-martial on 10 days. Turned myself in. Came back all contrite because I'm all right, So I came back ready to submit. And then they gave me a special court-martial. Right? And they gave me 90 days hard labor in the brig. A sailor in a Marine brig. That's cute, right? Marines, maybe you know, right? But anyway, so that kind of changed that kind of influenced me a whole lot. Actually, well, all right. But I knew, well, I went to them and I volunteered. And I agreed to do this, so I'm going to do it. But that was my military spirit. I agreed to do this, so I'm going to do it. Because it meant something to me to keep my agreement, right? And that's what that meant to me. And so maybe it was a whole different kind of test, right? Because I was in an environment that, but I did, and I went through. But the thing being, see, and then I tried college after that. And I went to college, but it was at the court-martial, right, that turned it for me. It was make something of yourself that turned it for me. And I went to college, and then radio television. So then I went in there, and radio television. Anyway, there was a student job that I earned it. Not the best qualified for it, but because one department head is having an argument with another department head, I didn't get the job. And so when I brought it up, they said, well, they had no reasonable, so they said, well, you have to learn to accept it because that's how it is in the business. And no, I don't. And I was done with radio television. And I'm floating around in abstraction trying to say, what am I going to do? And then Alcatraz showed up. All right, that's what I'm going to do. So I went to Alcatraz, and it was people like us, everyday people, the statistics, the people that didn't have any job. It was my people. That's what it was. We were all together. We didn't have any, we were all together, and we created a community, and we made it work. Betrayal and dealing with the government, but I mean in the essence of making creating a community and having a really functioning work. We did that, and we were the everyday Indians. We were the statistics, we were the alcoholics, and people couldn't get jobs. We were the felons and all that. We made that to happen. And when I look at that, see, I left my reservation believing in something. And I went out strictly into what I call the white world. All right, to find a place that I could fit. Right? And I couldn't find it. So I went to Alcatraz. I went to a prison. And some Indians occupied, saying we want to be free. And that's where I found who I was again. But I want you to, I don't know why I'm telling you this. Right? I really don't have a clue, right? I usually don't tell on myself, but I figured it's safe. Right? No crimes being committed here, right? But I don't know why I told that. But but it has something to do with whatever else I had to say. Because quite frankly, because I really, I know that I understand the respect that's in this room, and I do. But I know also that I touch on sensitive subjects like the flag and things. But I want you to understand where that comes from. I'm not just some off the wall nut, completely irrational. Most of the time. There's a reason to all this. And because of wellness, because I want to be recognized, whatever all the stuff is, politically, all the stuff is, I just want to be recognized as a human being. Right? That's what I want. And I recognize you as a human being. And you see all the other stuff, that stuff that's there, but it doesn't have to get in the way of us being who we are as children of this earth. So I guess I'm going to quit now. It's been a long day for most of you, right? I know. But I appreciate being here. I appreciate being invited here, being here, and that you all came here to hear whatever I had to say. You know, and if I say anything you don't agree with, you know, please don't unload on me. If I did say stuff you agree